Guys, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Today's topic I want to discuss on running motivation tips. I often get asked, what is the proper way to prepare for races, and how do I recover from workouts, and how do I overcome setbacks? I get a lot of specific questions in regards to what you need to do in order to get the best results, and oftentimes it's easier said than done. I know that long-term success and long-term great results come about through long-term commitment and not just merely tiptoeing through the tulips and expecting great results. You can't, I do discuss the differences between being interested and being kind of lukewarm and kind of one toe in, one toe out, going after great difficult goals, and then being fully committed. And so if you're just going to half-ass it, this is tough love. If you're going to half-ass your efforts and you're just going to do enough just to get by, you're going to get mediocre to average results. I know that athletes that are watching these videos are not average whatsoever. You are highly motivated, you're driven, you're focused, you want success, you want to do a better job at your chosen event, whether that's running the 400 meter or you're training for a 2 mile or you're aiming to run a specific time for one of the longer distances. The best advice I can give you, just from my own background in this sport, is to believe in delayed gratification. This is so critical. Everybody wants quick results, and oftentimes you start to second guess yourself. You start to doubt yourself when you don't see results quickly enough. You start wondering, well, maybe my best running's behind me, or maybe I just don't have what it takes, or maybe I don't have the talent. Those are all, at the end of the day, those are all excuses. Okay, we all make up things in our minds that we try to decide what is the real reason why we're not getting the results. What I can tell you from my own background, because a lot of times I started to do the same things just like any other athlete does. If you're not getting the results that you're wanting right now, it's just because you just simply don't know. There's something you don't know yet. And for a lot of athletes, especially, I discuss the importance of varying up the paces of your long runs and not just running long, slow, and easy every single weekend. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for the repetition of saying that, because I want you to get beyond just thinking that running long, slow, easy distance runs every single weekend is going to make you more efficient when you race. It will make you, endurance-wise, you're going to be very fit, but stamina and strength-wise, and being able to clear lactic acid faster than it's building up, it's going to be very difficult to do that. You have to start running at faster paces for longer periods of time in order to get very efficient at clearing lactic acid and being able to handle ever-increasing amounts of lactic acid in your bloodstream while you're trying to race. The hydrogen ion component, which is a component of lactic acid, is the reason why our muscle functioning shuts down. And there's a point where, if there's too much lactic acid buildup in your system when you're racing and you're not able to clear it, then that's the reason, that's a big reason why you're slowing down. And another reason is because more than likely you have not spent sufficient time training well below that goal race pace that you want. And in terms of running motivation tips, these are things that I wish I had someone to tell me years ago as well. I learned a lot of it from trial and error. There were a lot of years where I didn't even have a coach. And then there were years where I did have coaches, and the times that I did have a coach, it was very important that I listened to that advice and listened to that experience that these athletes as well as these coaches had. I was very fortunate to be trained by the 1985 Boston Marathon champion for 3 years, Lisa Rainsberger. Now Lisa, she was one of the world's top female runners in the world. She ran 52:30 for 10 miles, 2:28 for the marathon. She won Chicago twice, she won Boston once, and numerous other marathons around the world. She was very, very strong in her prime, and she's a great coach as well. And having that mentorship with Dr. Joe Vigil and Jack Hazen, who was my collegiate coach at Malone University. You know, Jack's still at Malone. He's been there for 52 years, and that's consistency, okay? And that's why if you're going to be great in the sport, if you're wanting to go from running a 2:45 marathon to a 2:35 marathon, more is going to be required out of you. And you got to know too that it's not an overnight process. And I know most, you know, the athletes that are watching this, I know you all know this, okay? But it's important to still hear that from somebody that's already done what you want to do. I understand the marathon distance. I've run numerous events. I understand the complexities of the mile, the 800, the 2 mile, the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, 30K, as well as all the way up to the marathon distance. I've even run ultra marathon or ultra runs as well, going out to as far as 30 miles. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to know that what you're trying to do is difficult, and it's going to take more than just training for a few months or for a few years. What you're trying to do, the goal that you have in mind, may take a decade in order to achieve. You know, I talk about, you know, my experience with the marathon. You know, I ran 2:19, comes out to 5:19 per mile, or around 3:18 per kilometer for 42.2K. That particular personal best, that was probably the best event, best time that I dropped. But it took me from running from 1992 all the way to 2007 in order to achieve that goal. And so consistent effort, believing in yourself for long periods of time is what it's all about. Another big tip I want to share with you in terms of running motivation tips is find the joy in what you're doing. Don't let setbacks and bad races or bad performances ruin the joy that you have for your sport. You know, do the very best that you can to get over bad performances and bad races quickly. That's a characteristic trait that I studied from some of the world's best middle to long distance runners. They're very keen on what they want, and they realize that they can't change the past. They can't change what they did in a past race or a past workout, but they can learn from the mistakes. And they did learn from those mistakes. They were very quick to get over disappointments, and they didn't lose enthusiasm from when they did have a bad race or they did have a bad workout. And so keep that in mind. That is a very important tip to remind yourself of, that world-class middle to long distance runners do not get bent out of shape for very long when it comes to middle to long distance races or workouts. They understand that this, like I talk about in other videos, it's a process. You don't get to the end result and the end event. You don't get to that perfect race without the process. The process is the big problem when it comes to athletes that really want to get to the next level. The adversity is going to teach you how motivated and how driven you truly are, because we don't learn very much in successes as much as we learn in our failures. And I can tell you from my own experience that and many failures that I've had over the years too, when I was trying to break 2 hours and 22 minutes for the marathon, I understood how difficult and how fast that was. You know, running one 1:11 half marathon is difficult enough, but to put two of them back to back and to be able to, you know, run 5:25 mile pace for 26.2 miles is a totally different, is light years of difference between running a half and 1:11 and putting two of those back to back. So it's about understanding that what you're trying to do may take a few months, but more than likely it's going to take you several years. It may take you a decade. It may take you over a decade to get to where you want to be. So the question I ask you is, how badly do you truly want success? How willing are you to get out the door and put in those double workouts and to train in weather conditions that you're not in the mood for? Maybe there's going to be times where it's raining out, when it's snowing out, when there's sleet, when there's high winds, when you have to go into work, when you really don't want to go into work, but you have to get that first workout in, and then you come home and maybe you have to do schoolwork, and then you really don't want to do that second workout, but you still put it in because you really want success and you really want to do great things in the sport. Those adversities are going to teach you how badly you truly want success. And over the years, that's what I had to deal with as well. I had to I had to balance all, numerous other things I was doing. When I was with the U.S. Army World Class Athlete Program, I wasn't there for very long. I was there for about 10 months. My first time, I did run. I came in with a 51, 53 10-mile best, and I qualified for 2 World Cross Country Armed Forces Championship teams. But I had never run an Olympic event under the Olympic trials standard for the marathon, which was my chosen event. At the end of those 10 months, I had went from 2:43.36 down to 2:19.35. And again, it's because I just had not gotten the marathon right. I had showed the potential. I'd run, 107.06 for the half, so that proved I could do it. So, and it wasn't until after that I spent another decade from 2007, after I ran that 2:19.35, trying to run faster than 2:19.35. And the closest I got was 2:26.42. So sometimes athletes get great results and they drop a huge, they get in that flow state and they run this incredible effort. Sometimes they run it very early in their career and then they never really improve upon because they ran so fast. And because it's so difficult to duplicate great results over and over and over again. And then there's other athletes that are kind of like late bloomers, and maybe you're one of those athletes. I certainly was. It took me until I was 31 years old to run 2:19 for the marathon. I had trained for years prior to that, trying to get the marathon right. And so you have to understand too about timing, and just know that what you're doing is difficult, it's challenging, it's respectful. It's going to take an immense amount of work, but keep the joy in what you're doing. It's so important that you stay the course and don't give up and don't let a setback or a few bad races or a few bad workouts get the best of you. Maybe you're running low on something. Maybe you're running low on iron. Maybe you're running low on potassium. It could be lack of sleep. If it's something physiological that's going wrong with you and you continue to have bad results or bad races, get a blood test, find out what you're running low on, okay? If you're running low on ferritin or iron, it's going to be very difficult for your cells to be working at optimal levels. It's very important to have adequate and normal levels of iron within your body. If you're running very, very low, for me, I was diagnosed with anemia in 2007, so I had to get my iron levels back to regular, normal levels. And once I did, I started running much better than previously when I was very, very low on iron. So when you sweat, you lose iron through sweat. You lose iron through foot strike hemolysis. When every time your foot strikes the ground, red blood cells underneath your feet burst, so you're losing red blood cells that way as well. So if you don't get enough protein in your diet, enough red meats, foods that are high in iron, that's another way you could really be hurting your running. So keep those things in mind. That's another very important running motivation tip. It's just to really pay attention to your nutrition. I have another website aside from RunDreamAchieve.com called nutritiongeeks.com. I'll leave a link below this video. There are resources, there are ways and means to improve your nutrition, improve your lifestyle, but it's up to you how badly you want to do that. And at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing everything I possibly can do to be the best middle to long distance runner I possibly can be? Am I investing in my own personal development? I got a lot of athletes that do this. They do go to RunDreamAchieve.com. They're interested in the running courses and the training plans. They understand that I'm also giving away a lot of free content as well here on the channel, and that's important to me too. It's not so much about the money, okay? I know what I want is to help athletes to get the best results possible, to use leverage, to stop necessarily working harder and expecting that just working harder is the way to get better results, which that's not always the case. I've known a lot of great athletes over the years that didn't always get the best results by working harder. They got their results by working much smarter, focusing more on quality training rather than just volume in and of itself. So get beyond just running high volume and thinking more miles or more kilometers is going to get you a guaranteed new personal best. That's not always going to be the path to do that. Okay, you want to use leverage. Leverage simply means doing more with less. And this is hard for a lot of us to get our heads wrapped around, because we're all taught from a young age to work hard. You know, go to school, get good grades, get a job, get a college degree, and those are definitely respectful. You know, I have 3 college degrees. I'm working on a doctoral degree right now in business administration, and mainly because I love business, I love learning. But at the end of the day, I know that there are high school dropouts. There's people with GEDs that make more in 1 month than a highly trained physician, lawyer, attorney, PhD makes in a year. So it's not always about working harder and getting, you know, more college degrees in regards to living a different lifestyle. There's other ways. It's oftentimes we're not taught these other ways. And again, that's just one example outside of running, that working smarter rather than harder can get you better results. Not only better results in terms of your health, but in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of getting rid of any debt that you have. Okay, getting off a little off the topic here, but I just want to share that with you, because Nutrition Geeks is something that I've worked on outside of RunDreamAchieve.com that is there for you. And if you have any questions regarding that, feel free to leave me a comment below. I'll definitely reach out to you, answer any other question or concern you have. But in terms of running motivation tips, I hope that these fundamentals in this philosophy and this mindset that believing in delayed gratification and believing in that process rather than just focusing on the event, the end goal, but focusing on the process. What is it going to take in order for you to get that mile time down where you want it, or that 5K time down where you want it, or running your first marathon, or running your first 10K? What is it going to take? Okay, at the end of the day, only you can answer that question. Are you look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing everything possible to get what I want? And if the answer is you're not giving 100% effort, then you have to adjust course. You know, work your plan and plan your work. Find out what it is that the best middle to long distance runners are doing, and how they think and what they do on a weekly, daily, weekly, monthly basis, yearly basis, and study them and emulate their efforts, emulate what they're doing, emulate how they think. You know, when it comes time for you to race, all you can focus on is on your race, and that's the most important thing. Don't focus on the other athletes around you or what they've run, because at any given day, any athlete can be beaten, regardless of what he or she has run, or what marathon time they've run, or what mile time they've run, or what 2-mile time they've run. Anybody can be beaten. You know, Billy Mills at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics dropped almost 2 minutes off of his 10K time and ran 28:24 to win the Olympic gold medal. You know, and he was going up against guys that had much faster times. So focus on long-term vision. Focus on the long-term mindset, not short-term mindset. Because if you start thinking about trying to get great results too quickly, when it's, you know, maybe you're underestimating the amount of time it's going to take in order for you to get to that next level. Be patient with yourself. Don't give up. Believe in what you're doing, and continue to reach out to me here on the channel. Okay, I'm always here for all of you, regardless of what event you're training for or what you have in mind. As a coach and as a mentor, I'm definitely here for you, so definitely reach out to me. There are resources below all of my videos, so definitely check those out. And if there's anything else I can do to help you all out, regardless of what event you're training for, definitely let me know. All right, I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.